So for my Office Revit template, I've set up a fairly elaborate collection of colors in an area plan scheme that represent all sorts of programmatic requirements for buildings, for hotel, office, residential, etc. And all these color codes are, created according to our office standards to represent certain programs. And you come up to room and area and go to area and volume computations, area schemes, and you'll see that the one I created is called 11 area prog for programming. And you can see that down in the browser because I have one area plan created with a little box for each of the programs. So what people have expressed frustration to me about is that when they want to create a sort of different area plan scheme where they're recording the areas differently, you can't duplicate this within the Revit file. And if I come up back up to this menu and I come over here and I right click, there's no option to copy and there's no copy duplicate over on the right hand side. And oftentimes you'll want to do something like that because you may have a client who wants to record the areas of the building in one way, and then maybe a municipality who wants to record the areas in several different ways. It could be zoning, one could be, fire separation, et cetera, et cetera. And to do that, you actually would create more categories of areas that would show up as their own area plan section within the browser. So there's a little bit of a workaround, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So right now I'm in a file, and the file is called, you see at the top of the screen, it's called Original Revit. And then I've got a duplicate of it, which is called Duplicate, and on the right tab. And so I started with two office templates. These kind of look the same, but really, if you want to copy a whole, customize or template that you've created, this is how you would do it. You would start just by duplicating the file and keeping that off to the right. And then what I would do is I would go into the duplicate file and go to room and area and volume computations, click on area schemes, and I just click into this name and I'll call it something else. So I'm going to call this 12 area, let's say we'll call it detailed, and I'll hit entered. Or, let's say let's call area zoning because the city asked me to submit a zoning plan. So I'll say okay. And you'll see down here that the chapter here has changed to area zoning, the folder within my browser. And if I come into that, if I click on my color legend and I go to edit scheme, you're going to see the category is called Area 12 Area Zoning, and my color scheme is called Programming Area. And if I go back to my original file, you'll see that also if I'm in the area plan and I click on scheme, this has the original name, 11 Area Programming, Programming Area. So that, part of the problem with Revit is if I want to duplicate this within this file, just copy the whole thing into a new, subcategory, if you will, of areas. I can't do it. But now that I've created this duplicate file, what I can do is come up to Manage, and I'm going to come up to Transfer Project Standards. And I click on that. I'm going to check None, and I'm going to come down and click Color Fill Schemes. Now, what's a little bit confusing is I kind of thought if I clicked area and volume computations, that would do the trick, and it didn't work. But if I click Color Fill Schemes, and I'm copying it from duplicate file, I'm in the original right now. I'm saying go to duplicate and copy this and click OK. And kind of looks like nothing happened. But now if I come up to my View tab and I click Plan Views, Area Plan, I now have the option to pick 12 area zoning as a type. I was calling it a subcategory. It's actually a type. So I'll pick level 0 and I'll click OK. And I'll just click No to this automatically create boundary lines. And you'll see that I now have this new area plan type. And it's got came up with some symbology for annotations. I'm just going to right click on those and hide their category, but there's really nothing else in this view. So it's like, well, did this do the trick? So what I'm going to do is go back to, staying within my file. See if this works. I'm going to grab all this stuff and click copy and go back to, I'm still now in my original file in the zoning. I'm going to say paste align to current view. Okay, so it says can't copy area tags. The target view doesn't have the same area scheme as the original view. And I'll say, okay, delete element. And I'll come down in here and I'll see, well, there's nothing there, right? I had boundaries, but I don't have the actual area, so that kind of didn't work. So I'm going to undo that. But if I go to my copy, my duplicate file, and I'm in this renamed area type, and I grab all this stuff, and I click copy to clipboard. I go back to my original file into my duplicated type. I'm going to say modify, paste, align to current view, and something happens. A lot of stuff drops in. So if I zoom in, I can see I did get the areas, but there's no color showing up. What I can do is just click on the legend, click edit scheme, and so it defaults to none, but if I click programming area, boom, I get all that stuff back. So now in my file, I've essentially, by making a copy of the whole file and renaming my original area plan type, and then transferring that standard over, and then copying these elements over, I'm able to kind of recreate the exact same thing twice within the same file. So it's a little bit wonky. I wish it were a little bit easier, but this is the workaround. So that's how you do it. Thank you for listening.